A leader is one who knows the way and goes the way. So, guys, 2023 is by the corner. I don't know if you are still undecided when it comes to who to vote for come 2023 presidential election. Peter Obi has left a blueprint in Anambra State. I want you to listen to this speech that he gave. In case you are not yet convinced, honestly, this speech is going to convince you. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it with your friends and family. Thank you.
And somebody asks, how about your life? You ask that question. You know why you ask that question? Nigeria has become a case of where lunatics took over the asylum. And we don't know what lunatics do when you want to take anything back from them. They create a thing as if there's a war. So you run away. The madman comes there. You say, hey, everybody say, I don't want to touch this madman. That's what they're doing. We need to take it back. We need to become as mad as they are and take it back. But as a philosopher, I always tell people, whenever people talk to me in a manner that I feel bad, I go into myself and reassess and re-examine myself. Unexamined life is not worth living. And you see our country today, the way it is and everything, everybody's saying how we're going to change it. Let's ask ourselves, how did we get here? This is what you have when you have, it is cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years. And it's not going to stop because you have millions of your people. I was just talking to somebody this morning and I said, listen, people are protesting in Iran. They're not protesting in Nigeria. But people don't know that the protests will come. If Iranians can protest, Iran has a GDP of 400 billion. With 79 million people, their per capita is 6,050 naira, $50. And they're protesting. Nigeria per capita is 2,000. So the person with 6,000 is protesting. We're not. Iran generates 74,000 megawatts of electricity. We generate 4. And they're protesting. Iran has the unemployment of 11% and youth unemployment of 25%. We have unemployment of 19.8 and youth unemployment of 61%. So those youths will protest one day. Those of us who happen to be lucky to live in Ikoyi and Victoria Land, I say to them every day, if we don't look for food for those who live in Ajegunle, one day we will not be living. So my people, what you need to do is, I believe that you must invest in Nigeria, you must bring your investment. What else can you do? Well, above all, we must change the managers of Nigeria. And somebody asks, how about your life? You ask that question. You know why you ask that question? Nigeria has become a case of where lunatics took over the asylum. And we don't know what lunatics do when you want to take anything back from them. They create a thing as if there's a war. So you run away. If a madman comes there, you say, hey, everybody say, I don't want to touch this madman. That's what they're doing. We need to take it back. We need to become as mad as they are and take it back. They can manage it. You have a critical problem. The managers of your country, I'm not talking about president or governor, anybody. Fella hit it. The lower people, none of you knows who is in your local government. Every local government in Nigeria receives 100 million naira every month. Go and look for their chairman, they are nowhere to be found. And the same thing goes with your state. You have a situation today where people are owing salary for 7 months and they're celebrating their birthday. How can you say a thing like that? How can you be celebrating when you've ruined people's life? People are dying and you're celebrating and people are watching it on TV. It's a crisis. And the only people that can stop that crisis is you. They can't stop it. Telling people in lunch that when I found it amazing that even people in America are part of the problem. As governor, I come here, you know what people tell me? This man bought this house, this man bought this house. Where are you going to buy your own? Why will I buy a house in America? I don't live in America. I have nothing to do with America. It only cost me $200 to come here and go. Why will I buy a house? Americans should live in America. I'm a Nigerian. I live in Onitsha. That is where I should live. I go to South Africa. I go to everywhere and say, buy a house in South Africa. How many South Africans have bought a house in Nigeria? How many Americans have bought a house in Nigeria? So why would Nigerians come here? You live here. Yes, you can own a house here. But not people. I come here as governor and Nigerians will tell you, oh, let's bring somebody and have a party. Why will I leave Nigeria to come and do party here? No way. I should come here as a beggar for you to give me something to take home, not to come and celebrate here. I have people who need food in the country. And Nigerians are celebrating here. And you go there and be calling them His Excellency, when you should push them to go back and do their work at home. So start telling them, if your governor comes here or local government chairman, do not be part of celebrating him. Tell him to go home and fix what he's supposed to do. Don't encourage him to waste the resources. He didn't come with his money. He came with your money. We're asking you to bring back your own. What we need to do is to manage that which is there effectively. Your country, to tell you how bad your country has gone. In 1980, Nigeria as a country had a foreign reserve of $10.5 billion. 10.5. China is 10. South Korea that somebody mentioned here is 3 billion. The country was far bigger than South Korea. Had more money than China. China had a population of, today, China population is 1,317,000,000. Nigeria is only 186 million. But what is happening? Today, China has in savings 3 trillion and we have 30. We had 10. They had 10. We had 10.5. They had 10. Today they had 3 trillion. We have 30. 1% of what they used to have. Today, South Korea savings is 400 and something billion, and we have 30. What went wrong here? And I can show you nations on nations. We are supposed to be part of the so-called Horses of Nations. Now we have put us to mint nation. We're supposed to be now mint nation because we miss where we're supposed to be, where China, everybody is. They said we are not part of BRICS nation. They put South Africa instead. Why did they put South Africa? I've asked that question. You don't have the infrastructure. You don't have what it takes. But look at the BRIC nations that we were put into. If you look at the 4 BRIC nations, it's Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Turkey. Look at our GDPs. Ours is not even half of the list. The GDP of Mexico, which is not there that they call anything, is 1.3 trillion. Mexico has today savings, their reserve is about 170. Of course, you can go there, both inflation, unemployment, everything is under 10%. Their market capitalization is over 400 billion. Indonesia, which has more population than us, a population of 250, has 1 trillion GDP, have $110 billion in reserve. And of course, can go, their market is over 400, market capitalization of their stock market is over 400. Turkey, which is smallest among them, 80 million people, has 895 billion GDP. Their reserve is over 100 billion. Nigerian GDP is 400 billion. And on top of it, our government have the most wasteful people in charge in the world. We're in a state of Florida. This state has a GDP of $793 billion. That is twice the GDP of Nigeria. Your richest state in America is California, with a GDP of 2.6 trillion, 6 times Nigerian GDP. With a per capita of 50,000, Nigeria is 2. Can governor of California drive 5 vehicles at a time? No, I'm asking you people a question. So we need to fix it. Can governor of California use 5 vehicles at a time? No. In your place, they use 30 and call it convoy. If it's not madness, tell me what it is. Or you think madness is when somebody doesn't have a cloth? No, there's favors for madness. That's what we need to fix first. So I want you to be part of that change agent fella is saying. Let people have souls and care for their people. That is what we need in our country. We need people who can think. How did China change? What happened to China? How did they change? Even just in the year 2000, China had been able to build from year 2000 to year 2000, to move from, go and check their GDP in the year 2000 was just 1 trillion. Today it's 12. Why is our own still 400? Why are we not investing in the right thing? Today everybody knows everybody is investing in education and all that. We're not investing. People are telling why the problems we have solved in Nigeria. How can it solve? 60% of the people, children out of school live in sub-Saharan Africa. 10 million live in Nigeria. Yes. You can go and check your records. I saw somebody the other day. A particular state in Nigeria, Zamfara. Let me just call it. In the last year, NECO had only 110 students. Only 24 passed. A state of 5 million people.
They are all commissioners now.
24. When another state has almost 200,000 for the same exam, it won't work. It's Nigeria. Every part of Nigeria is important to us. We have to ask that question. Why? What is happening? So when we're not Nigerians staying here, your investment is critical, but what is more critical? That you become part of the change agent. On top of this type of a situation, you still have people like me who are elected. Only in Nigeria, you elect people. People ask me now while we're eating lunch, what is the problem? I said, the problem is the people. So only in Nigeria that you elect people. They don't have car, they don't have anything. 6 months, they build a house, buy 20 cars, and call it for Thanksgiving, and people will go there. And they will be praying in the church, telling God to bless them. And the bishop will preach in that wherever they got the money, you give them more when they have to call police. Because they know where the money came from. Everybody knows where the money came from. But they are still celebrating it. He comes to America and buy a house, and they said if you see his house, and it's in choice areas. When he's in Washington, they tell you this place, this man owns the house here. In New York, this man owns the house here. With whose money? Let him show you his business. His daytime job. That earn that money. In which is, if Shobanjo, who is doing of advertisement, wants to buy a house in the best area of the world, let him go and buy it. But for God's sake, why would Peter Obi come and buy the choice area in Washington? when he didn't own it before. A governor built a house that is unbelievable, and they asked, he said, I used to have the money. Why didn't you build it before? Hey, wait a minute. What are you telling us? And you're owing us salary. Even if you had the money before, you would have kept quiet. The rascality must stop. That's what we need to do first. Let's deal with this rascality first. It's when we stop this rascality that we can now. There's opportunities in Nigeria, my dear people. As for investment, I know you're worried about the country, you're worried about this. Let me tell you, the opportunity you have in Nigeria when it comes to investment is not anywhere in the world. It's not anywhere in the world. I'm sorry you live in America. The reason why I'm saying this is that if we have good managers, even when people talk about borrowing, like our friend has said, there's nothing wrong in borrowing. You live in an 18 trillion economy, isn't it? America is 18 trillion GDP. But they're owing 21 trillion. Simple. Even China that I mentioned is owing 5 trillion. The entire debt of Africa is under 200 billion, which means Africa can borrow more. But who is going to manage this new money we are going to borrow? Is it the same character that is there now? No. So when you're talking about borrowing money, the greatest tragedy your country is facing today is that the managers of the country have never managed anything in their life. If a man has not created wealth or managed anything, he cannot manage public one. You suddenly find somebody who has never seen 1 billion and then throw him and say he's the governor to manage 12. Go and check it all over the world. All lottery winners went bankrupt. These countries are run today like business. They are managed by people who have managed something. Any manager, people say, oh, Peter, when you went there, what happened? This, that. No, there was no difference. I had a business that I was running. So I know profit and loss. So when I went there, for me, it was a profit and loss. How much do we get? How much are we going to lose? Why should Governor of Anambra State have a lodge in Abuja? For God's sake. This man doesn't live in Abuja. Why would I have a lodge in Abuja? My predecessor bought it for 800 million. We furnished with 200 million, 1 billion, and we are spending about over 10 million every month to keep this house going. I said, no. What are we doing? It's too expensive. I don't live in Abuja. I'm governor of Anambra. I have nothing to do with a lodge in Abuja. We have to shut it down. It doesn't work. And they say we have to use it. We have 15 vehicles. 15 in Abuja. 15 vehicles. So 15 drivers. Doing what? Say, listen, we are not governor of Anambra State. And I have 15 drivers in Abuja. How can this be? And people give us a schools. That we need it. We even have a lodge in Lagos. Tell me, what type of rascality is this? I said, no, it cannot happen. We have to shut all these things down. We don't need it. Because it doesn't make sense. If you go today, we have given to United Nations. That's where United Nations is, since they bombed their place. A year after I became, I said, no. Imagine the amount of money it saves us every year. I can go on and on. Because we had 30 vehicles, we had a fuel dump. Almost a filling station. For what? Why are you going to have all these costs? You come, if I tell you people the cost of governance in Nigeria, you won't be talking about investment here. Is wickedness of the highest order. Young man came out here and almost cried how he lost the auntie. Why wouldn't you lose the auntie? It is the resources they will use to build that hospital that they are using to build convoy. The greatest tragedy, I tell you, is all of you. Because what do people do? I was in governor for 8 years. You hardly meet a Nigerian adult who said you're not doing well. They will all call you His Excellency and tell you that since you came, things has changed. Even when you're seeing that nothing has changed here, in your face. Everybody is telling you, hey, that you're the best thing that happened to this country. Nobody could say to you, no, you're wrong. I just telling them when we're having lunch now, how we changed school. When I came, our school were number 20-something in Wayaka Neko. Of course, everybody knew that Anambra State, they did not go to school in 2001. And I decided I must visit every secondary school personally. I must go to every secondary school. Everywhere I go, I call parents in the school, call their teachers and headmistress, tell me, is anything wrong? They say nothing is wrong. And you're looking at the school, no roof, nothing, nothing is wrong. And you could see that everywhere is wrong. You could see it. Nobody. I went to a school in Asia, one of our towns, and they didn't have a roof. And I promised to give them a check to do that roof because I decided money must go directly to school, not via the ministry, because that's where the problem is. So I told them, I'm going to give you a check, 8.7 million. I went there in October. And I said, I'll give you the check before December. The check didn't arrive. In January, I was doing a tour in that local government because in January, what I did was to change. When I came, the state had no vision, no mission, nothing. So I decided to adopt the MDG as a vision and developed a local thing, our own strategy for delivery of it, which we christened Anambra Integrated Development Strategy, which is just a process, a system that allows us to plan properly within the MDG goals, budget properly, execute, and ensure delivery. And to do it properly, we change our budgeting, planning, everything from being supply-driven to demand-driven. So we go to the people and say, what do you want? In January, I went to the people. And they normally bring school children. And when I finished talking, I said, it's question time. A young girl raised up her hand. And I said, my daughter, probably about 11 years or 12. Let me start with you. This young, tiny girl, I gave her a microphone, and I said, Governor, why do you make promise you don't keep? The whole hall went wild. Her principal ran from where she was. Her principal ran from where she was, held her in the mouth. And I said, principal, leave this girl. Because of how everybody shouted, the girl started shivering and started like crying. She's done the wrong thing. So I held her, said, my daughter, what is it? She narrated the story. I was wrong. I didn't do what I said. And I turned to the commissioner. I said, Commissioner, where is the check? Commissioner said, we must give this girl this check before we leave here. So go and bring it. The commissioner brought the check. I apologized before everybody. And I gave this girl this check. The principal and the teachers that were shouting at her ran back, carried the girl in their head, and ran out of the hall. But they couldn't tell me that story. Yeah, I want you to understand why I changed from what Fela said this morning. After that experience, I decided we have to do one thing. That's what Fela told you. I decided that every secondary school, their senior prefect must have my phone number and they must have a phone. And they must reach me directly. That's how I collected the phone number of all the secondary school senior prefects. I still have them to today. You can see SP, all of them, from A to Z. And guess what? You could see how they want change. Every day, there's no day I don't receive text from 2, 3, 4 of them telling me we have no English teacher. We have no mathematics teacher. Our roof is leaking. This is this. They will send you the same test. You call their principal and said, what is happening at school? You say, no problem. But you've just received a text from the senior prefect saying the school is collapsing. There's no teacher. He asked him, how about the English teacher? He said, oh, it's wonderful. But the children have told you, no English teacher. The principal is telling you that the teacher is the best they have in the class. That is what is hurting your country. And that is what I'm pleading with everybody. You must die anyway. So, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you die. It is actually better you die doing something noble than doing than dying a cowardice. We need to tell them no. We need to. It is time. Go to little countries and see how efficient their airport, everything works. Little things. It cannot work in Nigeria. The reason why it's not working is because you have chosen, you don't want to die. It is time for us to die. If you don't want to die in Nigeria, hold them when they come here. They won't kill you here. Protest here. Say no to it here. They will not kill you. We cannot go on this way. In 2007, all our debts were cancelled. All our debts. I'm sure all of you are aware. Obasanjo, Ngozi Weah got all our debts cancelled. 2017, 10 years after, we're owing $60 billion towards what we used to owe. What did we use it for? Senator, I just said 64. We were owing 30 when it was cancelled and we were celebrating. 10 years after, it has doubled. What was it used for? That is the question. Every state today is owing a debt that the next governor cannot. And I said to people, I have been governor for 8 years. We didn't borrow one kobo from anybody. I can say that any number of person here can testify that we have the best road network of any state in Nigeria. Our schools were the best. Dr. Leo had just told you about Wilo. I don't know Wilo from Adam. I knew him when I became a governor. He told me he's a heart specialist. That he can do heart operation with this. I said, why don't you come and do it in Anambra State? He told me there's no hospital where he can do it. I said, you know what you're going to do? Give me the cost of all the equipments you need to do it. And I went to a mission hospital. By the time we calculated, everything came to almost $1 billion. I wrote the check and gave the mission. I said, listen, set it up. He's there, he's working. They haven't operated on me, but they're saving other people's lives. Why will I use that money? Why will I take that money to come and buy a house in Atlanta? Do I live in Atlanta? No. If I come to Atlanta, I pay for a hotel and go. This hotel room cannot cost more than $200 a night. I won't even pay if it's more, because I only want to sleep. And people come here and pay for $2,000 to sleep. If anybody takes $2,000 from me, I will be awake, thinking they're stealing my money. Why will I sleep? It's only to sleep. But people come here, if see a man who has, I can understand Ben Bruce, who has had money all the while, he can tell me the type of hotel he's sleeping. It doesn't matter to me, the name of the hotel. All you want is to sleep. You're not going to buy the hotel. You're not the owner of the hotel. So don't tell me you're staying in a Word of Australia, you're staying in this. A hotel is a hotel. You only want to sleep and wake up in the morning. And people do it with other people's money. Not with their own money. You cannot. And that is the waste you see in our place. Nigerians people are using government money to travel first class. Who said if you stay on the other side of the plane, you won't get there? I've been flying all over the world. I don't need to. If I go to the airport, they upgrade me. Good luck. If they don't, you say where because you're using public money. Today, our people charter plane to Abuja. Do you know to charter plane from Enugu, for example, to Abuja is $15,000. It costs you 20,000 in airpiece. Same flight, 20,000 naira, and people will spend 6 million naira for it. And these are people who don't used to enter plane before we voted them in. Now I'm telling you the seriousness of it. For every trip they go, I saw it as a governor. I'm telling you my experience. They will write memo. There's 30 people who wants to follow me to Abuja. Nobody invited these people for a meeting. They have no reason to be in Abuja for anything. I repeat it every day so people can hear it. They come to the airport, they constitute a nuisance to the traveling public because they are the ones who want to allow you to greet people who have just voted you yesterday. Then you enter plane, they cause problem, and you go. So it is important that I want you to come home and invest. There's so much opportunities in Nigeria. If people tell you there's no safe investment, I have done it myself, my dear. There's so many things you can invest in. A Chinese man had just finished building a factory in Nigeria and said the best place to put your money is in Nigeria. IBM Bev, the biggest brewery in the world, the best facility they've done all over the world is the facility they built in Onitsha. It was supposed to return in 6 years. He paid back in 1 year. Wow. Quote me anywhere. Their global CEO came from America to meet me, and I can tell you, I know that very well. I invested Anambra State money in it. We own 10% of it. That 10% today is worth over 20 billion. So I know that. It's easy. You have houses here. You have opportunities of even raising money here. I lived in the UK for 10 years. For that 10 years I lived in the UK, I was working in Nigeria as well. Then it was easy for me to borrow. I can tell you some of those things. It was easy for me to borrow money in the UK at 3% and invest it in Nigeria and get over 15%. People will say, no, about rate of exchange, buy Euro bonds. It's dollar to dollar. Today you can get 9.5% and you can borrow your dollar for 2.5. Just 100,000. Don't even invest much. That money will do a lot of good to Nigeria. Let nobody tell you Chinese people are still here. Japanese people are still here. But you can be here and be part of that change there. I'm not saying those who come back. But the most critical thing Nigeria needs now is to change the characteristics of its leadership. If our governors can manage the resources of the state better, there's no way a governor can be owing people salary for 6 and 7 months. But for God's sake, if you can't govern, you leave. People resign from office here. You cannot be there using siren and going about when you're owing people. No, you can't say that. I know there's so many things you can do. Some of you have watched my video, how Obasanjo visited us. If you go to Oka, you see it. They were building presidential lodge when I became governor. How can you build a lodge for president in Oka who doesn't live there? And I said, how are we going to build it? Why are we going to have a house for him here? They say it's in every state. What, for God's sake? What the president doesn't live in every state. Does every state in America have the presidential lodge? No. So where did we learn this? Does every state have governor's lodge in Washington? No, they stay in hotel. So where did we learn this type of irresponsibility? But they want me to do it in my state. For God's sake, when Obasanjo came, I told him, I went to him and said, Mr. President, you are the president, you have plane, come in the morning and go in the evening. You don't need to sleep in Oka. What are you sleeping in Oka to do? No, you just come anywhere you want to go, you go and... But you cannot. He insisted he would sleep. His best friend, he insisted he would sleep. His people said he would sleep. I said, I have no place for you. But since you insist, you come and sleep in my house. Where I sleep, and I'll go away and sleep somewhere else. When you go, I come back. And that's what they did. That's what they did. It will have cost us ₦1 billion to build presidential lodge. But Obasanjo stayed in my own place for 2 nights, and it cost me 100,000 in the hotel outside. For those 2 nights he slept there. And that's what I will spend 1 billion. Since he came, no other president have been there to sleep. 2006. And I've had a house of 1 billion, maintaining it every day, looking after it. When Jonathan wanted to come, I explained it to him. I said, I don't have any place for you to sleep. If you come, you go. Please. You don't need to sleep. You own the whole country. You can come back the next day if you wish. Or you go to neighboring states and sleep. It doesn't matter. And he came, he slept in Asaba. Because they have more money. I don't have it to spend. Only in Nigeria that people use bulletproof car and have 40 police. So what is the essence? And I can go on and on. You won't believe it. Most of your states today have 10 bulletproof cars. 80 million naira each. What for? Nobody wants to kill anybody. Nobody killed me in 8 years. Why would they kill you if you're doing the right thing? After all, you live with them. Even if anybody wants to kill you, when you come out of that car, it will kill you. You're not going to live inside it. You don't have a bulletproof body. So, all I'm trying to urge you as I conclude, my dear people, we have a country. The first thing you need to do is to say to yourself, all of us must now question the rascality of our country. We have no other country. I'm begging all of you, Fela had done it, I'm joining him as a younger person. The society we allow them to abuse today will take his revenge on our children tomorrow. God bless you.